Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Oshina. I'm so glad that you're here on my channel. I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I read in the month of January, my first ever monthly wrap up for 2026. I'll start with Christian fiction and then I'll talk about the rest of the genres after that. Okay, you guys, my first ever 5-star of the year was a Christian fiction book, and it is Hidden Places by Lynn. I am so excited about this book because this won my Patreon buddy read poll for January. I had put it on here because it was on my physical TBR and I'm trying to read through my physical TBR, get it to 10 books this year. We'll see if that's possible. Follow me to see if I actually do it. But this was the first book that I wanted to put in the poll because I was very curious about it. I'd heard really good things, and it's kind of an OG. This was published in like the early 2000s, so it's definitely an older looking book, and I just thought like this is gonna be boring. There's no way I'm gonna like this book. But that is not true. I ended up loving this story. I thought her storytelling in this book was so high quality. This is set in like the 1930s times, so like middle of the 1900s, and it's set in America. You follow a woman named Eliza. She lives on this orchard, and she was married to a man, a farmer. He passes away, and then his father passes away too. So now Eliza's the only person on the orchard. She has 3 kids. She has no idea how she's gonna run this orchard and also take care of her kids and make enough money and all the things. Then this random stranger guy shows up on the farm. He's super injured, and she's like, what is this? But she feels like it's her Christian duty to take care of him. She takes him in. It looks like he's gonna die, and she like nurses him back to health. And basically that's the setup, but you get flashbacks to the origin of the orchard. You get flashbacks of the woman's life. You learn about the guy's life. The woman has an aunt who also moves in with them, so the sister of her husband's mom. Did I get that right? So it's her step aunt, right? I think. So no blood relation there, but the aunt moves in, and she is such a wonderful character. She loves the Lord and she trusts in him. And Eliza's faith is definitely shaken, and she's just trying to survive. But you follow like all these storylines, and I was just so captivated. I also listened to the audiobook for this book, and that was really well done. The narrator was incredible. She had such a good accent for all the characters, and I was just so blown away. It really was the storytelling, like the way that she wove these stories together and built intrigue, and you really got to like kind of uncover the layers of these characters of why they are the way they are, and then seeing like the romance blossom. And I thought the kids were a great addition. Like they weren't annoying, they had like their little parts, and it actually added to the story. And I just loved this book. So I am so surprised, you guys. I would definitely recommend it. This was just such a great Christian fiction book, and the faith content, like truly everything. I gave it 5 stars. I'm very surprised. So I'm so happy that this won the Patreon poll, because I honestly don't know if I would have gotten to it on my own, and I ended up loving it. So that was amazing. So thank you, Patreon. Highly recommend. Next, you guys, the next 5-star is Bridge to Haven by Francine Rivers. I love this book, you guys. I really do. This is the first book in my Francine Rivers book club. If you would like to read one Francine Rivers book every single month for this year, join my book club. All of the information is in the description, but Bridge to Haven was the book for January. If you missed it, just join in for February. You can jump in anytime. So I'd love to have you. There is a Fable book club, but I'm also posting here on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. So all the places, follow me. But Bridge to Haven, I connect so deeply with kind of a prodigal daughter storyline. I really resonate with women who struggle with their worth because I've been there. I know what it's like, and the way that Francine Rivers writes redemption for them, I just love it every single time. This book can be very bleak. Like, you follow this girl. Very beginning is she's a newborn baby. She's abandoned under a bridge. A pastor finds her and takes care of her, and then you follow it from there. A lot of trauma happens to this girl. She struggles with her worth. She does end up running away, and you follow what happens to her when she runs away and all of the really terrible things that she gets into. But I still thought that Francine Rivers just really weaves in real human emotions. I feel like she makes it so realistic for what could actually happen. And then the way that she puts little pockets of light and Jesus in the book, I just absolutely love it. She's such a master. I feel like God has just anointed her writing. I cried at the end of this book. Like, I just feel so connected to that redemption storyline, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm really excited to talk about it with everyone. I think that would have already happened by the time you see this. So I did do a live show on Sunday discussing this book with everyone. I'm saving it on my channel, so just go to the live tab when you go to my main page and you'll see it there. It'll be saved. So watch it back because I do think that we're gonna have a great discussion. Thank you to everyone who has joined so far. It's been such a lovely experience. So definitely recommend this one. Absolutely love it. Next, I have Through Each Tomorrow by Gabrielle Meyer. This is book 6 in the Timeless series. I definitely have all of the book order numbers mixed up, so I never really know. I gotta check the spine. But Through Each Tomorrow, I started this in December and I finished it at the very beginning of January. It was my first book that I finished in 2026. I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. I definitely liked it. I liked most all of the characters except for Charles, and Charles was one of the main characters. I never connected with him. I didn't like his motivations. I didn't like the things that he did. And I never really got won over to his character. I didn't like him. So that really sucked because we were in his perspective for like 50% of the time. And I didn't care about his romance, to be honest. And I did like his romantic interest. I thought she was very fascinating and I would have loved to see more. But for him, I'm like, maybe don't do that again. Like, I will admit, like, following Siblings 2, it wasn't that interesting to me. Like, the way it was written. It is what it is. But I still think that people would like this book. I've seen, you know, good reviews for this. And 4 stars is still good. Like, I definitely liked it. I just have read better in this series. But I would say that, like, I don't know. The way that the time periods were written wasn't boring. Because that was a key, like, for some of the in previous Timeless books, I did find some of them boring, and so if I didn't like one of the characters and the time periods were boring, I'm like, this book is boring. But the time periods were fine. I really liked all of the other characters except for him. So the 2 time periods for this one are 1883 and 1563. And there wasn't anything that stood out really about the time periods, but they were fine, I would say. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next book though. I hope that I like it better than this one, but for now, book 5, Every Hour Until Then, is my favorite. Okay, on to young adult books, you guys. First up, I did read Better Than the Movies, and I read the sequel, Nothing Like the Movies. So I'll talk about them together because I gave them both 3 stars. If you didn't know that I am reading through some young adult books this year, some popular ones, to give my review and just let teens and parents know, and romance readers, if these books are a good idea for a Christian to read, or just so that you are clear of what the content actually is from a Christian perspective. So I started with Better Than the Movies was very hyped up a couple of years ago. I never got to it just because I wasn't in a young adult contemporary romance stage of reading, but I kind of feel like I am now just because I feel like I'm gravitating towards them, and I have read some good ones. But with Better Than the Movies, I put a whole review on Instagram and YouTube, so I'll even put it here actually because I was very clear on what the content is, in my opinion. The main thing is there's no spice in these books, which I really do appreciate. There is some language and like teen parties shown. Overall, I would say that Better Than the Movies and Nothing Like the Movies are fine for like a 15 and older teenager to read. Just because, yeah, there's some more mature themes, but not out of the realm of what a teenager should at least be aware of. And I don't think that it sends a negative message to teens. So I'm comfortable recommending it to teenagers. For me personally, I didn't find the writing or even the characters or the plot very interesting and like compelling. So it is a 3-star read for me. But I really appreciated the no spice because I know that she has put more content in her books more recently. But for this duology, I was actually liking the storyline of Nothing Like the Movies better than the Movies, but there was a little bit more language and just more like steamy makeouts that were happening. So that downplayed my enjoyment, so it was still 3 stars, but the plot of this one I actually liked, which is surprising just because this is like the breakup book. So better than the movies. Obviously, you know, they end up together at the end, and then Nothing Like the Movies starts with them broken up and you figure out why. I did think his reasoning and like all of that was silly, but it felt realistic at the same time for a teenage boy to be doing. So, and then I really liked seeing them at university and, you know, doing their thing and crossing paths and being mad at each other, but then still being drawn to each other. And I liked the side characters. Like, anyways, that's why I think I would recommend it, other than like there is some language in it, but not excessive for sure, and there's no spice, which I appreciate. So that was my experience reading these two books. I do think that I'll stop reading her books though, just because everything else, like I've tried some other of her young adult books and they've either been DNFs or lower ratings, because she toes the line with content so closely, which is why I appreciate these two books and why I would say if you're gonna read Lynn Painter, lots of Lynns, Lynn Painter, this duology is probably her best. Okay, and then I read A Time to Die, or I tried to read A Time to Die by, I think, Nadine Brandes, right? And this is a young adult fantasy book, Christian fantasy. There is like Christian faith allusions in this book. But I found it so incredibly boring. I could not continue. Like, I feel this is what fantasy usually is for me. The way that I feel like authors sometimes young adult authors in particular, will write scenes in a confusing way for the sake of feeling like it's like a more interesting fantasy world to get to know, when really it's just like unclear writing and not good storytelling. Because I got far in this book. I got like 20% into this book and I barely felt like I understood the main character and her motivations. And even if I did like kind of understand this character, the things that were happening around her, like each scene, there was so much, what do you call it? Exposition? Is that the word? Like so much just filler description of random stuff that I was like, why do you care? Why do I care about hearing this? Like, show me what the character's doing. Who is she talking to? What are they saying? Like, even the dialogue, I was like, huh? I just felt like she'd talk to this random person and then there'd be a couple more sentences of random stuff and then she'd be talking to this other person. And I was like, no, I do not care about this. And then to be honest, the concept, I just felt like the way the concept was being used, I felt lazy. I don't know. I just would not recommend this. I mean, I'm not a super fantasy reader. I mean, I don't know. I am though. Come on. I've read dystopian. I do like some fantasy, but I want it to be clear cut. Like none of this, I don't know. Like it just feels like it's confusing for the sake of it. And I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So anyways, the concept is, you know the time you're gonna die. You know the day. And you get to decide what you want to do with your life before that day comes. And it's like, this girl is like 16, I don't know. And she has like 1 year until she's gonna die. And that's it. Okay. Nothing was explained about that. Like it just didn't. I was like, why? What's going on? And where does the Christian faith actually come into this? Like, I don't know. So yeah, not for me. On to thrillers, you guys. I did read 2 thrillers in January. And the first one is Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden. This is my least favorite Frida McFadden book to date. I haven't read all of her books, but I've read quite a few. Definitely my least favorite, just because the way that she kind of yanked us around, none of the characters were actually telling the truth. So the twists were only because when you were in the character's perspective, they weren't actually thinking even the truth. They were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then it would come out later like, oh, I'm actually the person that did this. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know. I thought the concept of this book and like the beginning was really good. But then I think actually once we switched perspectives, I was like, okay, it kind of turned into more of this thriller where there was multiple things going on. It wasn't just one storyline. And I just found that not that interesting because I was invested in the main storyline and then it like switched and I wasn't that into it. And then like kind of the ending and just like it just didn't impress me. It didn't impress me, so I actually gave it 2 stars. Because I also, was there language in this book? I don't remember. She usually does put a little bit of language, and then there's no spice, which is nice, so yeah. But not my favorite. And then I also read The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. I have not read a Sally Hepworth book in a really long time, but I loved some of her previous thrillers, and it just had been a while since I've actually remembered she had more books. So, The Mother-in-Law. I love her writing style. The way she writes fiction, because it's not really a thriller, it's kind of just a family drama, I would say. Like, most of her books are just dramas. I just love the way she builds a story and builds characters. The problem was, like, she does usually do flashbacks as well. The problem with the flashbacks is I just found that character just not interesting, like the mother-in-law. So you follow this married couple, the son is the son of the mother, the wife, you follow the wife's perspective, and then you also follow the mother-in-law's perspective in the past. And I found the mother-in-law's past, can you hear that? My dryer is going. Or no, the wash actually. The mother-in-law was boring. I just didn't find her interesting. I thought she was strange, and I just thought like the way she was just didn't fully make sense for why she was acting the way she was in the present. I just was like, nah, take it or leave it, not that interested. But I just loved the writing style though, and I would for sure still read more from this author. So I gave this 3 stars. The ending was fine as well, but I don't know. Yeah, it didn't wow me. So it's 3-star level. And I did read one Christian nonfiction book, and that is Now and Not Yet by Ruth Chow Simmons, I think, or Simons, I'm not sure. But this book is so beautiful, and really all of the books by this author, she is totally my aesthetic. Like, if I could have books, I'd want them to look like hers. I did find that this book, I gave it 3 stars because I didn't quite relate to it. It felt more geared towards a wife and a mom more than a single woman with no kids. So there was just certain stories that she used, because she has 5 sons. 5 little boys. So I was like, whoa, girl. So a lot of her stories and the way that she was like building her points were related to her being a mom, and I just don't relate to that. So that is my own fault, I guess, but there you go. I do think still some people would like this, because she just talks about how life can be very mundane. It can feel like, what am I even doing here? What's taking so long? When are things going to actually be interesting? And when are things going to move along? Does anything I do matter? Those kind of questions. But the way they were answered felt like the answer would resonate more with a mom than me. So yeah, I kind of did lose interest in most chapters, to be honest. I thought she started great, and then when she actually like got into the practical tips, I was like, don't relate to this. So that is fine. I still think that it's a good book, and I would still recommend it. So there's my January wrap up. I really tried to be intentional with the books that I read. Other than like thrillers, for me right now have been kind of my palate cleanser books. So when I would just want kind of a no brain power, easy book to just not really need to write some fancy review for, and I can just read it in 2 sittings and be done. Thrillers are that for me right now. So that's why I read 2 of them this month, and I do see myself continuing to read more thrillers throughout this year because I just kind of enjoy them. They're just quick entertainment. So that's that. And then yeah, for young adult, I'm definitely feeling this urge to continue reading young adult and giving my reviews. I really hope that they're helpful. I don't know if I went into enough detail with Better Than the Movies, but I think my reviews are really high quality, so I will link them down below. Go check those out if you're a teenager or if you're a parent. I'm here to help, I hope. So yeah, and I will always be linking like videos and playlists in the description for more resources. So I've done many videos about young adult books already, so for the most part, I stand by everything that I said. So I'll link those below, and then as I read more, I'm going to add more to my lists. And I do want to reread some books as well, because there's some young adult that I read, 5 years ago that I don't really remember exactly the content, so I'd like to reread them and give an updated review. And then as new releases come out, I do want to track those a little bit as well. And then Christian fiction is my one true love, I would say, and I'm really enjoying reading deep and emotional Christian fiction rather than lighthearted. I want to see characters going through tough situations and what kind of like grit do they hold through that? How do they experience the love of God through that? And what are they on the other side? And what life lessons can I learn from it? And just giving me hope to keep living my life. That's kind of the Christian fiction I'm looking for. And I just want to say a huge thank you to the people who watched my testimony about reading spicy books. The response truly blew me away. I did not know that I was going to get that kind of response from this. I did not know that that video was going to resonate the way that it did, because if you've been here since my rebrand in November, I'll link that video down below. I rebranded. I used to be Oshina Gotta Read 'Em All. Now I'm Oshina Reads Co. And with that rebrand, there were some like content pillars that I wanted to have on my channel. And one of them was speaking honestly about my reading journey and how I have experienced freedom from reading spicy books. And I said spice because that's like kind of the hot topic word or whatever, the hot button word for this topic, but it's sex in books. And I decided that I wanted to get even more deep and honest about my experience reading those. And this was the first video that I felt like I needed to do because it was kind of just the introduction to my story, and it kind of sets the tone, I guess, and sets the whatever how I feel about books. And it's such a deep hobby for me, but I want to honor God with it. And that is what I want my content to reflect, that I am reading to honor God and to help others. And this was the first video to do that with. And the response has just been incredible, you guys. And all of the new subscribers, if any of you are still here, hello, thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. There's a long backlist of videos on my channel for you to binge if you'd like to, but I'm really looking forward to my future content. I am moving at the end of February, so the content is gonna look kind of strange. Some of my bookshelves are already getting empty here. I'm holding on to a couple before I put them in boxes, but yeah, if you want to see, yeah. Shelves are empty. I'm like moving plants around. I don't even know if that worked, but I just feel that God is really shaping what my channel is going to look like and how it's going to help others. So I'm really happy about that. And thank you for being here on this journey with me. So I'm looking forward to all the things coming. I just feel like this ministry is growing, and if you want to be a part of it in a deeper way, I do have a Patreon that you can join. There is a free option and a paid option, and I would love to see you over there if you would like. And I do have social media on all of the main platforms. So there's TikTok, Instagram, and then YouTube. Those are the main three that I use. And then I do have a Fable and a Goodreads. So if you want to follow how I am tracking my reading, I'm using Goodreads and Fable this year. Anyways, just wanted to have a little check-in chat. So thank you again for being here. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Thank you for being here, you guys. And if you're still here, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Maybe put a yellow heart in the comments if you are still here. The yellow heart is my favorite heart, I think, just because the yellow color is really pretty. I don't know. Time for a casual chat, you know? So get down with me. Let me just sit. I was sitting on my feet that whole time. So she's like, or no, of her, I don't even know. There was, I really like that name, by the way. One of my coworkers, shout out. That was unnecessary. Does feel like it's just so all over there. Because then I read Francine Rivers and I was like, no, this is what it's all about. Pretty good. Not really though. I'll go by genre. What is wrong?